Jesus warned in Scripture, Satan is a liar and the father of it. Lucifer is the great deceiver. Not just a deceiver, but also the great deceiver. I assure you, if it isn't a good lie, it isn't from Satan. The devil, then, is the premier expert of illusion and delusion. When it comes to the near-death experience, we find some near-death accounts where a person died and was revived 2 and 3 times in succession. Later, they reported the first time they were clinically dead, they saw a wonderful light and had the most profound sensation of peace they had ever experienced. But then, when they were brought back and died again, it started out with a heavenly vision, but quickly turned dark, terrifying, and hellish. These reported experiences give us a big clue to the devil's tricks and schemes. Satan is not God, and he is not all-knowing. So when a person is on the brink of death, Satan does not know for sure whether or not that person is actually going to die. So he creates an illusion of a heavenly experience so that if they survive, they will be left with the impression that there is no hell and death is a wonderful experience. The few cases of near-death reports that appeared at first to be heavenly and later turned to hell experiences when a person had been brought back again serve as examples of tactical errors on Lucifer's part. He jumped the gun, you might say, acting too quickly and pulling back his illusion of heavenly peace too soon, revealing the real terror hidden behind his false light. These, then, are cases where I think Satan thought the person was going to die, so he simply stopped masquerading as an angel of light, removed the mask, and revealed the reality. Unfortunately for him, he miscalculated, and the person came back with a heaven-turned-to-hell account from the other side, leaving us with records of experiences which can serve as a clue to the thinking individual as to the real nature of many of these experiences. We also have the exact opposite. A person experiencing a hell encounter is led in a sinner's prayer and calls out to Jesus to save them, and immediately their hell experience is transformed into one of utter peace and love as Jesus rescues them and embraces them. These are public record for anyone who wishes to study the subject closely. They also serve as clues to the real spiritual nature of things. Unlike God, Satan is not all-powerful. But what most people do not realize is that Satan does have supernatural powers, and Scripture plainly states Satan presents himself as an angel of light. In fact, Lucifer means light-bearer or the morning star, and he uses his false light to deceive the entire world. Jesus said, I am the resurrection and the life. He who believes in me, though he were dead, yet shall he live. And he who liveth and believeth on me shall never die. John 11:25. Scripture teaches that a true believer in Jesus Christ, then, will never see spiritual death. According to Scripture, for a Christian to be apart from the body is to be with the Lord. 2 Corinthians 5:8. But for the unbeliever, for those who spurn God's grace, despise His mercy, and reject His payment for their sins, Scripture plainly teaches it is not a brilliant light and peace unspeakable that awaits them, but wrath and judgment and torments forever.
In time, people would come to me and ask, well, since you are working in hypnosis, is it possible that you could take me into a past life? And I was very imperious in those days. I said, no, I don't do those kinds of things. I'm terribly sorry, but I'm very traditional in my academic orientation, and you would have to go to somebody else for that kind of thing. So what happened to me was that after a number of years passed, I had a client who came complaining of a pain in his side. He told me that he'd been to many medical doctors, had x-rays, and was told that it was all psychosomatic. It was in his mind, and that if he just forgot about it, it would go away. But it was causing him intense pain. He wasn't sleeping well, and so forth. He asked me if I could possibly find any root causes for this in his childhood, if I could regress him to his childhood. So I did this, and we searched, and I looked through many of the early aspects of his childhood, and I could find him not falling on a sharp object or being involved with knives in any way or anything that would cause this very sharp pain in his side. So finally, in frustration, I said to this individual, who, by the way, went very deep very quickly in hypnosis, which is an important part of what I'm saying, because that to me is a key in reaching into the past life work that I now do and my interlife work. I said, go to the source of your pain. Tell me the first time it happened. And suddenly he was on the battlefields of France in World War I, in a British division at the Battle of the Somme, and was being bayoneted. So while the poor fellow had suddenly regressed into a past life, almost getting ahead of me, and he's lying in the mud dying, I'm so skeptical, because that's my nature, that I'm asking him to describe his division patch for me on his arm. What battle is this, I asked. Where are we? Who are you fighting? Because I'm not satisfied that this is really happening to me. So he described all these things very accurately, and since I am an amateur historian, I knew he was accurate. And so I realized that I'd had my first past life case, and I worked in desensitizing him just as I would have done if he'd have been a 6-year-old child who'd speared himself in the kitchen, for instance, while his mother wasn't there. So from that case, I realized that that past life regression was very real.
Since the age of 7, Rochelle has lived with the fear that she will be violently stabbed to death while sleeping. Here's her story.
I'm not sure what it is. I've always known, I've felt rather, that I'm going to be stabbed. I'm going to die a violent death, and it will happen at night. It'll happen while I'm asleep. Since recently, I'm beginning to hope that it is a past life, that this is something that I've already experienced, and there's a lesson to be learned from it.
Tom, how can you help Rochelle?
Well, her fear and her worried about being killed in this life could actually stem from a past life memory, actually. And I want you to look down at your hands. Now, I've already pre-hypnotized you, so it'll be very easy for you to enter back into hypnosis. I'd like you to take a deep breath in, breathe in real deep, hold this breath in for about 5 seconds. As you exhale, I want you to give me permission to hypnotize you now. I want you to gently close your eyes, relaxing the muscles in your eyelids. As I count from 5 down to 0, gently drop your head down, relaxing the muscles in your neck, entering back into a hypnotic relaxation. 5, 4, head dropping down, way up into the air, so the memory comes back as though you're reliving it again for the first time. And now going back, 5, let that left hand and arm start to lift into the air. 4, 3, 2, 1. I want you to speak to me and tell me exactly what is happening to you right now. Speak to me now.
I'm walking down the stairs. There's a lady behind me. I think she's my wife, and she's in a black dress with flowers. And she's coming behind me. And she has a knife in her hand.
And what is happening right now? Tell me what is happening right now.